everyone. My name is Mrs. Manita Prasad Vagre and I am the Assistant Professor in Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Law College. Today we will be talking on the concept extradition, and this is belonging to the subject Public International Law. Coming to the topic extradition, whenever a person, an offender, has committed a crime, he will take rescue or he will take a flight to another country and with an intention to take shelter or refuge, right? At that moment of time, when we request the state where the offence has been created, those state members, when they take a request to send back that offender, that particular concept, that particular request is called as extradition. So, extradition, when we are breaking out that particular word, we see that ex means out and tradium means give up. Okay, ex means out and tradium means give up. That makes it called as extradition, that returning back the offender to the land where the offence has been taken place so that he can be prosecuted. Okay, that is what our Latin term from where extradited has been taken up, which is aut dedere or judicare. Which is aut dedere or judicare. What does that mean? It means to extradite or to prosecute. Okay. So, coming to the meaning and definition of extradition, we have Oppenheim, a very eminent jurist, who has defined extradition as extradition is the delivery, return back of an accused or a convicted individual to the state on whose territory he is alleged to have committed or to have convicted of a crime by the state on whose territory he happens for the time to be. Okay, so what are we seeing here? We see that there is a territorial state and there is a requesting state. We'll understand this through an illustration. What happens is, say there is a particular person named X. He is an offender who has committed an offence and he has taken a flight to A, but he belongs to actually B, where the offence he has committed. Okay, he could be a citizen or a non-citizen. Say that we'll take it for example, citizen. Here, A becomes what? Territorial state. Okay, because what he did, he committed an offence and he taken a flight to A, and B becomes a requesting state. So B is making a request to A to send or return X to the country where the offence has been taken place so that he can be tried up or he can be prosecuted or convicted for the offence which he has committed. Okay, ma'am? Is that clear? That is what your extradition means. Now moving on to the objectives of extradition. We have 5 objectives now, where we talk about to prevent escape from punishment. Why is a person extraditing himself to seek refuge? He has committed a crime. He knows that he will be obviously put into a deterrent effect, right? He has committed a crime. He will be punished for it. There will be a deterrent effect on his offence which he has done. So for that, escaping from that action or from the trial, what he is doing is he is taking a flight to another country, and that becomes our 2 very important objectives of extradition, is that to prevent escape from punishment. A person has committed a crime, he should be proven that offence has been taken place. He should be guilty of the offence and he has to be punished for the offence. That is why we have extradition. Similarly, we are creating a deterrent effect on that person so that he does not repeat that particular crime, or either he will not be escaping from the punishment for the crime he has committed. Apart from that, we have another 3 very important objectives, which are to maintain peace. Peace, it could be on ground, in the territory, to might repeat the crime of similar nature or maybe some other nature which is offensive basically. So we have to maintain the peace, right? We have to maintain global peace, and it is the duty of every state who is a contracting or a signatory body of the United Nations that it is seeking and it is seeing that maintenance of peace is being there everywhere globally. At the same time, we have to reciprocate the diplomatic relation and kindness. The diplomatic relations which we maintain are very different in nature. As you might have learned under the UNESCO and various agencies of United Nations, it could be for the relaxation of tariff, yes, maybe to be maintaining the multilateral agreement which they are bounded to. It could be the bilateral agreement which the contracting parties are bounded to. Anything, the boundiness, the legal boundiness basically, for which reciprocation of the diplomatic relationship or kindness is to be done, which is the fourth objective of the extradition. Next is to enhance international cooperation. Obviously, when we are seeing that all the countries are working together to promote and to maintain peace, it automatically is enhancing the international cooperation. Now, after understanding the objectives of extradition, we will be moving to the principles which are applied under extradition. So now when we are talking about the principles which are applied under extradition, we have 4 different principles which are mainly applied under extradition, which are the principles of reciprocity, the principle of double criminality, the principle of double jeopardy, and the principle of speciality. We will one by one understand what these principles are. Coming to principle of reciprocity, as I already told in the objectives, we have to reciprocate with the diplomatic kindness. We have to see that there is an enhancement and encouragement of international cooperation, right? So we know that when an offender has done a mistake and is flying, there can be a reverse of scenario also being taken place. As we saw in our illustration, this ex-offender from who belongs, who has committed a crime under the B requesting state has taken the flight to A, where the territorial state is. Reverse of act can also be taken place. It could be X again doing the same mistake, or maybe another person Y in the same countries or different countries. So basically, when we are talking about multilateral and bilateral agreements, diplomatic relationship is very, very essential to us, and of course the promotion of peace is also very much important to us. We cannot encourage any kind of anti-social activities being done by these offenders. So the principle of reciprocity will encourage the country to return back, to extradite the offender to the land where the offense has been taken place, so that he can be tried for the offense and he is being made understood of the act what he has done, which is very grievous in nature, and is being punished for that action. Now coming to the second, which is double criminality. In double criminality, it is very essential that what crime for which the offender has extradited to a country should be a crime in that country also. For example, say that there is a crime called perjury. What happens in perjury? Say that under English law, perjury is a wrong. Okay? Under English law, perjury is a wrong. But the same is not a wrong under your American law. Yeah. So now say that they are trying to extradite from American law an offender for the offense of perjury. That cannot be done. Why? Because there is a rule of double criminality. That when I am calling a mistake, the other state also has to acknowledge that it is a mistake, it is an offense, and yes, the person has to send back, extradited, mission has to successfully taken place because it is an offense and to be tried upon and punishment to be given. That is what your double criminality means. That both the nations calling one offense as an offense, acknowledging it as an offense. Next is your double jeopardy. Double jeopardy is a simple one. when we know that a particular offence, when done twice, cannot be given two punishment, but to be tried as one, that is called as double jeopardy. Double jeopardy is coming from a Latin maxim called non bis in idem. That means that same mistake cannot be tried twice. Trial cannot be done, conviction cannot be done twice until the expiry period of the punishment has not been completed. That is what your double jeopardy is. Next is your rule of speciality, or say the principle of speciality. What happens is, whenever a person is being extradited for one particular offence, on the same grounds he has to be convicted also. That is the rule of speciality. Here we have a case law to understand, which is United States versus Russia 1886. Here an offender, say A, he was travelling on an American ship. Okay, an offender A was travelling on an American ship and he was charged with murder of a person. Okay, murder of a man, that was his charge, and he was extradited. After extradition successfully taken place, he was being, the trial has taken place, and under the trial, because the absence of the fruitful evidence was completely, there, like there was no evidence at all. The absence of the fruitful evidence was clear. What happened is, he was not charged for murder, but he was charged for murder, but he was not convicted for murder. Whereas he was convicted for grievous hurt. Okay, grievous hurt was his conviction of punishment. But what he was extradited for? Murder. Therefore, you will apply the rule of speciality, and that extradition can be condemned because the extradition has taken place on the charge of murder. That is what your principle of speciality is. It's very important that we are applying all these four principles when any concept, any issue has arisen for the topic of extradition. So today we have learnt the meaning, definition, the 5 objectives and the 4 principles of extradition. In the next class, we will be learning more about the prerequisites of extradition and the Indian provisions for extradition. So please be tuned till we meet next time. Thank you.